Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. The group stages of the LPL Spring Split are finally over. And I'm here with Clement Chu as well as Indiana Frosco and Black to recap everything that's happened in the group stages, talk about playoffs. It's going to be a lot of fun stuff. Poggers is enabled. We went to 9 games today. I'm absolutely delusional right now. We're all zoomed in on these fantastic poros we've got right here. Hello, Clement. Hello, Indiana. How are you two doing?
I believe those aren't poros, those are assistants.
Oh yeah, these aren't poros. These are minions.
Minions? Yeah, they're minions.
Yeah,
So
they're minions.
I've been told by our producer these are the Winions. Apparently.
Yes.
So these are our LPL Winions. We saw in a Winion match earlier on today. But we'll get into the poros. No, poros? I need to stop calling them poros. We'll get into the Winions later on. The first thing I really want to do is recap the spring group stages of the LPL because it's been non-stop action. Over 300 games played. I just want to talk about what your highlight moments are. What did you think of the LPL so far?
I mean, frankly, it's been quite a roller coaster, and I think the theme or the motif of the year really has been about new and upcoming talent, young blood, if you will, because all of our elite top-end organizations, the EDGs, the Team WEs, and the RNGs, yes, we just saw EDG, finish first of their conference, but they didn't start out very strong. All 3 of those teams really slipped up, fell down very early on, and have just been kind of sprinting or scraping back into relevance recently.
Yeah, and back to go back on your point about the new talent here, I think LPL is moving in a new era. In this franchising era, we had 26 rookies. None of them were Korean imports. A lot more emphasis on that homegrown talent and really trying to get the pool of the entirety of China into the MPL, the best of the best.
And as much as we can talk about, there's lots of new talent, there are still a lot of old names returning. Clearlove had a gameplay today. We talk about players like Rookie who are standouts for their team, and they're still solidified as the old guard of the LPL, and they're still showing that they're very strong in 2018.
I mean, you're only defined by, short is defined by tall, fat is defined by skinny. The greats, the legacies are defined by how strong the new blood is. Uzi is still only as impressive because he has someone like iBoy, like JackieLove, that is effectively chasing his heels, which make you just appreciate these legacy players even more when, Big Daddy Uzi comes on stage and just drops the hammer.
So that's what I really want to talk about, because when we opened the LPL, day 1, there was a nice video where had a lot of rookies coming and saying, you know what, this is my time to shine. Players like JackieLove, players like iBoy, and at the very end, Uzi comes and says, you sure? You want to shine? You have to beat me first. So that's my question. Have the rookies beaten the veterans yet?
Ooh.
Well, that's a tough one. I would go with...
Frankly, Invictus Gaming, so the thing is Invictus Gaming are undisputedly the super team right now. They haven't won yet, but they are the heavy favorites to win. But I wouldn't say that JackieLove as like the young blood or Invictus Gaming as a team really represent that young blood. So I'm almost going to say no. I don't think the rookies have overtaken yet.
I think they've had a very strong footing. If you look at the middle of the pack, this is where LPL is the most exciting. You look at teams like Suning, like Jingdong, Knight, and Yagao. Those are your real superstars of tomorrow. Going forward 2 or 3 years down the line, these are the names that everyone will remember. And we're seeing so many starts of the legends. True, they aren't legends yet, but they will be for the future, and we can already see a lot of promise.
And we also see some legends step down, so to speak. We had Kid play his final game for Invictus Gaming. It was a fantastic moment for him. He came up on stage, was a victory for Invictus Gaming, even picked up an MVP for himself on the Sejuani, and it seems like the LPL over the years is just growing and growing.
I mean, it's really sad. Esports and League of Legends in particular is such a young sport, comparatively to traditional sports, and the lifespan of our players, it's much longer than people ever really expected. I remember when Hart was still running around in the LPL.
Nocturne's ganking us, hang on. Something's going on.
Was still running around in the LPL, now acting as the coach for RNG, and was one of the oldest players playing. To see someone like Kid finally step away, there's so many legacy talents. It almost felt like when Dyer stepped away. Doublelift's still playing over the NALCS. He's been there since the very beginning. People like Zatai, like Clearlove have been there from the very beginning.
Yeah, and I just wish he had a worse game on that final game he played, because every time I sort through the stats, I need to take him away, because he was up 2,000 gold at 10 minutes, and he screws up all of my stat lines.
That's what you care about, your Excel spreadsheets?
That's what you came up with?
Bye, Kid.
Kid has a heartfelt moment, picks up MVP in his final personal
match.
match.
God damn him, messing up my stats.
One of the first 5 people I ever was like, damn, this guy messed my stats up. I can't have him play anymore. But he did step down. IG have had a fantastic split so far. Ning has replaced him quite nicely in the jungle as well, and they're sort of banding together. And I want to move towards talk about individual players. We could talk about the young bloods like the JackieLove and the iBoys all the time. We can talk about Uzi as well as other players like Xiao who have been around a long time. But I really want to know, who are your MVPs if you had to pick one right now for the group stages of the LPL?
The MVP of the entire league?
Yes,
the
MVP
Shy.
player.
Ooh.
Yeah, I think the
That was
Shy
interesting.
is the make or break difference between Invictus Gaming. The Shy was an incredible talent already, but he wasn't quite there. He wasn't everything that IG needed last year for them to go from dark horse to actual contender. This time around, he is undisputably the best top laner in the league, and I think he might be the best top laner in the world. It's just a couple of Korean players that stand in front of him, and frankly, he doesn't get to face them because he's in the LPL, but I think he's going to go internationally, and I think he's going to really impress.
I agree with you that the Shy is probably still the best player, but I actually have another Invictus Gaming player on my list. I would go with Rookie.
Ooh.
Yeah, for sure, because Rookie is the one that is the linchpin of the IG strategy. If you look so far, their ban picks, there's no other team in the world that's going to ban 3 mid laners on red side. They can do that just because Rookie has so many picks that he's successful on that they can still get that and get a double counter pick on the red side. He's just the versatility and the individual strength. I think that does it for me.
And I agree with you. Rookie is undisputably the best player, but I just think that the Shy was the difference from IG, because Rookie's been on IG this entire time, and they've always been good, but they've never been great. He was just kind of the cherry on top, the last thing to get them over the edge.
So then my next question would be, who are the villains to your MVPs? Let's say we had the playoff bracket formatted so that any team could play against any other team. Who would be the player from a different team that's not on Rookie or on the Shy's team to take down those 2 of your MVPs?
It feels so bad saying Uzi, because I actually feel like he's the primary protagonist right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he's not on the super team, although you look at his roster, you're like, how are RNG not a super team with Xiaohu, Karsa, and Uzi all stacked on the same roster? But it ultimately does feel like, even though this will probably be the semifinals match, is what I predict, RNG versus Invictus Gaming, that this should be the true final. Because personally, if any team is going to challenge Invictus Gaming domestically, RNG are the only roster that have the pound-for-pound talent to just survive lane phase. Never mind try to beat them strategically in things like draft or mid-game.
Yeah, I actually have to agree with you there. I think RNG is the only one that can really stand up to them. I would go for Rogue Warriors a couple weeks back, but that's no longer the case because they've slid back.
But who in RNG? Are you also looking towards Uzi to be the stand-up member that takes RNG to a victory, if that's the case?
That's actually a different. I'm actually looking for the mid and jungle to really beat out, because I feel like the weakness for IG is in terms of a 2v2, Rookie and Ning have never looked the sharpest when they're dueling together. Actually, if you look at most of the mistakes that Rookie makes, it's because he's trying to follow up
He's trying
Ning
to compensate for Ning
for a really weird play. So if that matchup goes into RNG's favor, I actually think it's going to be Xiaohu and Karsa dominating the duo.
And they're playing on the same side of the bracket as we move into playoffs. So there's a potential that that match could take place when they do head into the semifinals if RNG can climb their way through Team WE further on into the quarterfinals and then into the semifinals. Now I want to ask beyond playoffs. As we move into MSI in May, who do you think is going to be the team that represents the LPL, and how far do you think they're going to go and why?
Invictus Gaming, and I said it, I believe, around week 7. We have never seen a team as powerful as IG from the LPL. You have to go back to kind of the classics. That would be 2015 Edward Gaming as well as 2015 LGD, and then 2014 OMG were kind of our big last, super teams. And I think this iteration of IG and all of the strategies at their disposal are more options and are more terrifying than any of those teams before.
Yep, and for me, it's Invictus Gaming as well. I do expect them to see them go all the way into the finals, probably versus Kingzone right now in the LCK. Compared to the LCK regions, I feel like we play a much more LCS regions. We play a much more up-tempo game. Our mid laners move much more frequently, and if you look at NALCS, there was no 4v2 plays in the first round. So I feel like in the meta difference, LPL is still pretty far ahead.
And on top of that, we've already talked about how RNG are going to be the team that if someone's going to take down Invictus Gaming, it could be RNG to do that one. You already mentioned that LCK is going to be a formidable opponent for the LPL moving into MSI. Do you think that's going to be the only tough task for the LPL to jump over, or are there other regions that have really been stepping up recently?
I mean, the thing is exactly as Clement was talking about. When I talk about, all of the tools that Invictus Gaming have at their disposal, it's not just the superstar talent, like just surviving lane phase. It's not just the flexibility due to their large champion pools and draft. It's the ability to play a side lane. And frankly, in EU and NA, that is one of the crippling factors. There are very few teams in the Western regions that are able to execute on that effectively. And so Kingzone and Invictus Gaming, as supposedly the LCK and LPL representatives theoretically at this time, have that access to incredible top laners and the ability to play a 1-4 or a 1-3-1 that I don't think the Western regions are as practiced on right now, because their own regions aren't pushing them for that.
And again, we haven't had those MSI spots locked in just yet. So let's actually take a look and see what the run for playoffs in the LPL is going to look like, because that's going to be starting next week. Round 1 will be here in Shanghai from April 12th to April 13th. We have BLG taking on JD as the first match, as well as Team WE taking on RNG.
It is the bracket side of death, frankly. I mean, you look at that incredible matchup, and this is also more like a new age rivalry that's happening. I believe this is the 4th time that WE and RNG will run into each other during a playoff bracket, either a finals or a semifinals match.
Yep, and they've had a very sordid history. WE wiping the floor with RNG, a 3-0 last year. So RNG are looking to get some revenge back in this matchup again. Yeah,
and revenge is the key word. You know, Uzi, he definitely has a sore spot. He tried to go to the finals. Team WE denied him multiple times, and he just wants to put the last nail in the coffin. The final word in the sentence, I am better than Mystic.
Well, after that, we have the quarterfinals, which will also be in Shanghai from April 14th to 15th, right after round 1, followed by the semifinals in Hangzhou, where EDG and Victus Gaming have already locked their spots there, as well as their spots at Rift Rivals later on in the year. That'll be on the 21st and 22nd. Finally, the finals will be played at Chengdu on April the 28th. But let's dive straight into round 1. And we've got our Winions. We've got our Winions here.
Winions.
Our Winions here to help us out. Not our Poros, our Winions will help us out here. And I've got 4 of them. Eventually, we're going to bring them up here. I've got 4 little Winions here. I'm going to get you guys to pick 1 each, or 2 each. And what you're going to have to do is, every single one of these Winions has a playoff team for round 1. You're going to have to sell to me how this team wins and how they make it to the finals.
Do I get to pick first?
You can pick whatever you want.
Okay, I got the winners.
Oh, boy. No, this is fine.
Do you want to trade? Do you want to trade?
No, I like my
open
minions.
to it. Oh, really? Okay. They're Winions, by the way, not minions.
These are our LPL Winions. They only win in the
Oh.
LPL. All right, Frosco and you first. Pick one of them. Tell me what that team is and how they're going to win.
Okay, I've got JD Gaming. Now, this is the youngest team in the LPL right now in terms of just the inexperience on the roster. JD Gaming's #1 adversary is Baron. So first and foremost, you guys aren't allowed to go near that objective unless you completely ace the enemy team. Secondly, Yagao was my pick for best debut or rookie of the split, and I think everything really hinges around him in particular.
Raz had something to say about that. You know, he jumped in and said...
He was wrong. But in all seriousness, JD Gaming, you know, they're a wild card factor. What they lack in consistency, they make up for in confidence. And this team, they're the type of team, they kind of remind me of old school Lemon Dogs. The type of team that they will sit 5 members behind a wall and they'll all flash that wall. And they just might look for a fight. They're very scrappy, and if they win a 5v5 against BLG, I think that this one could go either way.
Yes, they're going to be up against BLG. Clement, how do BLG win that match?
All right, so BLG, they do have the better jungle and support synergy. We do see Road moving a lot more compared to Lurimal, and also I feel like Amazing J is their star player. He's much better than Zoom in terms of the teamfight situation. Yes, Zoom might be a lane god, but there's a reason I put Amazing J over him. Much better in the teamfight, holds his CC better, and is also better on the roams.
You ready for the Darius?
That today doesn't count.
So we got BLG against JD. Without having to justify the 2 teams that you picked, who wins this matchup, Frosco?
I believe that BLG are more likely to win the matchup.
BLG, yourself?
Myself included. I do think that BLG, they're just more experienced overall than Jingdong.
So BLG apparently are meant to win the matchup. JD, unfortunately, they're gone. All right, next up, Frosco, who do you have here?
He's lucky no one's down there.
I made sure, don't worry. Frosco, who do you have here?
I got Team WE. Now, unfortunately, Team WE, this is not your semi-finalist team. This is the new iteration of WE with Magic and Celestial instead of Condi and Bin, and that makes a big impact in terms of any sort of early game potential that they would have otherwise had. It used to be that Team WE were the archer. It took them a long time to line up the shot, and then Condi was the sword. They got no sword now. They're only a late game 5v5 team, although Shie is performing exceptionally well.
Yeah, let's talk about that, because no Condi, no Ben. Halfway through the split, we haven't seen them since. They stopped playing, and I haven't seen them since. Now it's going to be Magic and Celestial. Their first few games were horrible in Team WE. Since then, they started to mesh a little bit better with the team, but they haven't lived up to the standard and the caliber of Condi as well as Ben.
I mean, frankly, I honestly think it's just time. They just need time to bake, and I think people need to kind of trust Team WE. I mean, Team WE took a roster of nobodies and made them household names. Shie was nothing before the roster, you know, picked him out of obscurity and made him a superstar. So they have a proven track record that they can create legends. They just need time. So put the trust in WE that they see something in Magic and Celestial that we just haven't seen on the Rift yet.
Well, up against Royal Never Gives Up. These were 2 semi-finalist teams at the World Championship, and Frosco's already given Team WE away. She doesn't even want to hear what Kerman has to say and justify how this team's going to win. She says, you know what, Team WE are done. Why are RNG going to win?
Can I throw these minions at the end? I just want to try it out. But all right. I'm going into why RNG is going to win. Last
That's
time,
not the point.
All right. Last time they met each other.
Do I get to throw it?
Uzi and Ming actually smashed the lane between Mystic and Celestial. Celestial's a very new player. He can't really hold his own in that lane. And also, if you're talking about Xia being good, that's only in the Western Conference. The Eastern Conference is the heavy hitters with all the better mid laners. So I expect Xiaohu and Karsa to be able to control that matchup as well. The only play I'm a little bit worried about is 957 suddenly waking up and realizing he's back into his world's form.
All right, Frosco, you had some curious looks while Clement was giving his analogy there. What's going on?
Xia is the second best mid laner behind Rookie.
All right. Look at that Western Conference. Tell me what other mid laner he's actually playing up against.
I also saw him in cross conference. Do you not have eyes? Did you not look at that beautiful man with your eyes?
All right, Xia, but he's playing with Magic. And Magic has not been
He's
performing
playing
well
with Magic
at all.
Xiaohu's sitting with Karsa and MLXG. Rookie's got Ning behind him. I'd like to see how those other mid laners do with Magic behind him.
I'm not disputing with you that she is a good player. I'm just saying in the 2v2, when it comes down to the line, RNG's going to win that.
All right.
I'm pretty confident.
Calm down, you two. Calm down, you two. So clearly,
this guy's throwing shade. Bad shade.
Clearly, RNG against Team W is going to be a very hyped matchup. You said that your eyes are going to be towards the mid lane, where Sia is having arguably a better split if you remove the jungle presence aside. But if you remove the junglers? But is that where this matchup's going to lie? Because all in all, it looks like RNG are just stacked in their favor, even if you take the jungler and mid laners out of context.
I mean, frankly, it's where the meta lies. So unfortunately, whether I want it to be around mid jungle or not, it is around mid jungle.
Yeah, I'm going to say the only weakness for RNG is that they still have very messy mid-games, and if WE can exploit that with a solid team fighting, they might get a couple of wins.
Yeah, that's the big thing. Their top laner, either Zatai or Let Me, is so inconsistent on executing on team fights that if it does go even out of lane phase into late mid-game, early late game, that 957 will absolutely crush a team fight.
957 is great in those big moments. I'm going to make a prediction. If WE and RNG go to 5 games, then I feel like WE take it.
Yep.
Well, so if W can take it to 5 games, they will be the ones that take it. You say here, Clement, as well as Frost going to agree with that. Who's the player that brings W over the edge to take it over the edge to 5 games? You said C has been stepping up. But you said 957 as well.
Yeah. It would be 957 because it means that if you go to 5 games, the play usually is that teams will draft hyper-scaling compositions because they don't want to gamble their entire split and playoff run on an early game comp, fumble the early game, and not have any options. So there will be at least one hyper carry, and if you ever just let WE scale, that's the only opportunity they're going to win. They're never going to beat you in early game. They can only beat you late. So you've already allowed them an opportunity to win that series.
But I will say it's not likely to happen, however. So 957 has had very, very quiet splits so far, and he's going up into 8.6, which is a Conqueror meta. So I actually don't expect a lot of good things from 957, but you're right. If it goes to 5, he's the X factor.
All right, well, you can get rid of the RNG minion there. Actually, BLG's on stage right now for us, so you can try and hit Amazing J if you possibly can. Like, give it over to him.
He's dancing. Oh, yeah.
He's posing.
Oh.
Oh, you've got a chance to lob the grenade right now. It's now or never,
Frostcurrent. He's giving me the flex.
Oh, yeah, he's got the biceps for it.
Oh, the Frostcurrent can't get it. Got it. Nice. Now they're curious as to why the 3 foreigners on stage here are throwing minions at BLG after the
AJ literally stopped, he turned around and he was like...
Well, that's the wrap-up of the group stages of the LPL so far. But remember, playoffs is going to be starting next week, and that first match is going to be the hype match that we were talking about here today. Team WE taking on RNG. That starts at 5 o'clock Shanghai time.
Oh, wow. Can you imagine this would ever be a round 1 playoff match? Like, that's how nuts the LPL has been, that our 2 semi-finalist teams from Worlds are round 1 of playoffs.
That's how far some of them have fallen. Both of them actually had very inconsistent splits so far, but right now is their chance to get back in form, get their chance to head possibly into MSI.
And that's only the first match that we have in playoffs. Remember, we'll have 4 games being played next week. The first match is going to be WE taking on RNG. The second match is going to be our second round 1 match. And right after those 2 matches conclude, we still have the quarterfinal matches to be played before we go into semifinals. So there's going to be a lot of condensed action in the LPL.
And a lot of tape for our semifinalist teams to really study. Like I said, it's going to be a very long time before we see EDG and Invictus Gaming again. They're just sitting on their thrones, observing, planning, and waiting.
Yeah, and that's incredibly important, especially when we are going into a new patch. The Guinsoo changes, the Conqueror changes, the Kaisa also coming up. It's going to be about adaptation for these teams.
So remember, round 1 here in Shanghai, April 12th and April 13th. Quarterfinals, April 14th and 15th here in Shanghai as well. The semifinals will be in Hangzhou from the 21st to the 22nd of April. 3rd and 4th will be from Chongqing, April 24th, followed by, and lastly, the final to decide who will head to MSI for the LPL. That will be on April 28th. But that's all from us here at the recap. FLICKR as well as Clement, any last words before we end the show?
My birthday's on April 25th.
Wow, you have the same birthday my girlfriend has.
I'm actually your girlfriend.
All right, we're done here. I asked for some final words, and this is what I get.
That's
Thank
amazing.
you, ladies and gentlemen, so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the ELCS Finals waiting room as well as the LPL group stages. Spam your poggers. Get over to the LCS Finals. Go Fnatic. Let's see what's going to happen there. Apparently, Clement thinks Gita's going to win. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you at playoffs.